So what does this tell us? Again, this time in terms of preaching on it, I would say what I'm gleaning from it for my own life is that I'm all three. I'm all three. And the way I'm all three is that there are some gifts I have in abundance. In some ways, I'm a very, very gifted person. And it's taken me a lifetime to discover those gifts and to hone those gifts and to see what they're useful for, and to try to invest those and to try to make those fruitful. And I find that in some ways that's actually become easier over time. I actually get better at it, and I really don't risk a lot of failure in taking chances of what I'm doing when it's these particular gifts. Okay. And then there's other gifts I have that I have to really work harder. That they do require pretty much industry and reliability no matter what. And they're a little bit more risky as to what the outcome is going to be. So I have to take some chances and I have to take some stands and to really work at making this work out as best as I can. And then, excuse me, then there's the things I'm just not good at. And you're seeing them. And you're not laughing at it, so I don't know. Maybe you're not, I don't know. You can only fool some of the people some of the time. You can't fool all the people all the time. So, so I'm not trying to fool you that, don't have some real weaknesses and shortcomings. And I thought about that this morning. I thought about the weaknesses and shortcomings that I have and the temptations I have, whether out of fear or avoidance or denial or whatever string of excuses I can come up with, which I can come up with a lot, is that I would just tend to avoid these situations and just as soon just kind of bury that in the ground and when my life is done, just kind of hand it back to God and say, forgive me for all that. And one of them occurred to me this morning earlier when I was preaching at Sacred Heart, so I told the story to them, is that in my pastoral care with the sick, one of the things that a person who is ill, who is suffering, who's in the hospital or at home, and one of the more common things that they say is that I'm not a good patient, okay, which I have said at any time when I'm a patient. I know I'm not a good patient, and so the one time that I found that out in spades was when I had my gallbladder taken out, and they gave me some drug and the anesthetic, which it turned out I was allergic to, and so instead of the whole procedure being in and out in a day, it was 10 days. It was 10 days in the hospital, which is, you got to be pretty sick if you're in the hospital for 10 days. So I was in rough shape, and I was attached to an IV the whole time, and the IV, of course, is on an IV tree, and the maker of this particular IV tree, the maker's name was Baxter, and so I dubbed my IV Baxter, the IV tree. And so, but I was well enough that I could walk, and so I would walk around this floor of the hospital. You could make a circle all the way around it in a continuous way, and so I would walk with Baxter, the IV tree, around the circle, and they let me have clothes that I wasn't, showing anything. So Baxter, the IV tree, and myself would walk around, and I found as I did that, I was contemplating two things. I was, first of all, because I had not been that sick in my life before, I was contemplating my own mortality which I hadn't really done for 10 days of my life. And so now I'm kind of walking around contemplating my own mortality for 10 days. And of course, as you pass by the rooms of the other patients, you can kind of glance in, but try not to intrude on their privacy, but noticing the other patients on that floor of the hospital for 10 consecutive days, and finding that, first of all, I was out there walking and they weren't. So that tells you a lot about, okay, I was getting better, and a number of them were really, really struggling. And so it really gave me time to contemplate that and to pray, and to, was present with God, and God was present with me and with them. And it really was, I found out that even though I'm not a good patient then or now, I'm sure, but that moment, which I would never have chosen then or now, but in that moment, God chose that to give me a revelation that I needed to have. Not my long, strong suit, by any manner or means, then or now, but the experience of it gave me a revelation that I needed to have personally and in my ministry. And so I just give that witness because if the parable is for all of us about all three, then it's not only about, where we're really, really good and we can shine no matter what, and it's not only about where we really, really have to be industrious and reliable and take some risk, but we can accomplish good things in this life. But it's also about the things that we can really tend to avoid for good reason, for very good reason, but that it can be in these areas where we are not gifted as much as these others, but where some of the revelations we need to have in this life for ourselves, as well as for our sense of compassion for others, and our sense of receptivity of the witness of others. Okay, so it wasn't just my sense of compassion for the other patients on the floor, it's my sense of receptivity of their witness to me that honored and respected the crosses that they